Welcome to Karma Chronicles. Please like the video and subscribe. Let's begin.
It was just another Sunday dinner. Lasagna in the oven, football low on the TV, Dad complaining about the Giants like it was a religion. Everything felt normal until Kayla opened her mouth. We were mid-bite when she said it. So, I bought a new car. Mom perked up immediately. Oh, sweetie, what kind? Escalade. Fully loaded forks paused mid-air. I raised my eyebrows. You lease it or... Nope. She leaned back, all proud of herself. Bought it outright. Quick note. Before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from? The room exploded. Mom clapped like Kayla had just announced a pregnancy. Dad actually whistled. My sister Laura threw her arms around her. Even Uncle Craig, who barely says 2 words, let out a damn. I smiled and nodded, figuring maybe she'd landed some influencer deal or finally hit 6 figures with that interior design business she posts about but never really explains. But then she added, loud and clear, like she'd been waiting for this moment. Grandma and Grandpa gave me 60 grand. You know, like a startup gift. They said they believe in me. My smile froze, just for a second. I kept chewing, forced a small laugh, said, wow, that's generous, but inside, I felt something go cold. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Mia push her plate away. She didn't say a word, just stood up and mumbled, headache? Gonna head out, I started to ask if she was okay, but something about her face shut me up. She looked like she'd just been slapped, pale, jaw tight. I gave her a kiss on the cheek and said I'd check in later. She nodded, eyes down, and walked out. Kayla kept talking, already showing pictures of the car on her phone. Everyone leaned in like it was Christmas morning. I sat there, staring at my half-eaten lasagna, wondering when the hell my daughter started getting headaches from family dinners. When we left, Mom hugged me a little too long. Her voice in my ear was soft, fake sweet. Wasn't it a great night? I nodded, smiled for the millionth time that night, and told her it was. But my eyes were already on the door, already thinking about Mia. Because something was off. I just didn't know how bad it was yet. We got in the car, I turned the ignition, and the radio popped onto some oldies station. Melissa, Laura called from the porch. Text me when you get home, okay? I gave her a thumbs up, rolled up the window, and drove off without saying a word. When we got home, I kicked off my shoes by the door and tossed my purse on the counter. The house was quiet. No TV, no music, no shower running upstairs. I found Mia in the kitchen, sitting at the table with her phone face down next to her. Her back was straight, hands folded tight in her lap. That alone was enough to put me on alert. Mia never sits like that unless she's about to get grounded or confess to something awful. You okay? I asked, trying to keep it light. You looked off at dinner. She didn't answer right away, just looked up at me with this weird mix of shame and panic in her eyes. I need to tell you something, she said. My stomach tightened. Okay. She reached for her phone but didn't touch it, just stared at it like it might explode. I gave Grandma and Grandpa the money, she said, barely above a whisper. What money? I asked, already knowing the answer. My voice came out sharp. My savings? All of it, I froze. Your trade school money? She nodded. Her chin started to wobble, but she held it together. All 60. I sat down across from her, fast. You gave them $60,000? When? Why? They said they were in trouble, she said, voice shaking now. Said they might lose the house and didn't want to tell you because they didn't want you to feel guilty or worry. My jaw clenched so hard I felt it in my temples. When was this? 2 months ago. I blinked. 2? Are you kidding me? I didn't want to hide it, she said fast, panicking now. But they made it sound so serious, Grandpa cried. Grandma kept saying it was just a loan. They'd pay me back soon. I sat back, trying to breathe through the pressure building behind my eyes. My hands were fists in my lap. Mia, baby, you've been working since you were 16. You gave up prom. You skipped vacations. That money was your future. I know, she whispered. I thought I was helping. I stood and walked a slow circle around the kitchen, trying not to slam something. Did they ask you not to tell me? She nodded. They knew I wouldn't go for it. They knew. She swiped open her phone and pulled up the transfer. Bank of America, full amount, labeled for family emergency. I stared at the screen like it might tell me this was all fake. They said they were gonna lose the house? Yeah, I knew that house. Paid off. Dad bragged about it all the time. They weren't in trouble. They were lying. They didn't even ask me, I muttered, mostly to myself. They skipped me and went straight to you. She looked up, eyes glassy. Did I screw up? I knelt beside her chair and grabbed her hand. No, you didn't screw up. They did. We sat in silence for a second. Her thumb rubbed the edge of the phone screen. My mind was spinning, but my voice stayed calm for her. You said they promised to pay you back? She nodded. Said I'd have it by September. It is September. She didn't respond. I stood up again and grabbed a pad from the junk drawer. Okay, we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna write everything down. Dates, texts, every detail. You're not gonna yell? I gave a bitter laugh. Oh, I'm way past yelling. She followed me to the counter, watching as I wrote. Her hands trembled when she pulled up the texts with Grandma. I scanned the thread, heart emojis, guilt trips, subtle pressure, and then, don't mention this to your mom, honey. We don't want to burden her. I wanted to punch something. They didn't just lie to you, I said. They used you. She stood there, quiet. Have you told anyone else? No, I didn't know how. Well, now you've told me, and I'm handling it. She nodded, tears finally falling. I pulled her in, hugged her tight, then stepped back and grabbed my phone. What are you doing? She asked. Starting a list? Lawyers, bank contacts, everything? She looked scared. Do we really need a lawyer? You gave $60,000 to people who tricked you, I said. That's not a family favor. That's fraud. I watched her face shift. Shock, sadness, fear. But then something settled in her eyes, something like steel. You're not alone in this, I said. She nodded again, this time slower. Okay. Then I opened the Notes app, typed game plan, and started my list. I sat at the kitchen table long after Mia went to bed, just staring at my notepad and the half-drank cup of coffee I didn't even remember pouring. My parents always had favorites. That part wasn't new. Kayla was their golden child, even though she wasn't theirs. Technically, she was Laura's stepdaughter. But from the minute Laura married Greg, it was like my parents adopted Kayla too. Birthday parties, ski trips, private lessons, she got it all. They even called her our bonus girl, like she was some damn prize. Mia, she got socks, a Target gift card if she was lucky. And if I said anything, Mom would go, oh, don't be dramatic. She's just quiet. We never know what to get her. That was their excuse. Every time, we just don't know her the way we know Kayla. Maybe because they never tried. I used to make myself believe it was harmless, just old people being out of touch. But it added up. Every Christmas, every birthday, every casual brag about our little entrepreneur, while Mia stood right there, hearing it all and pretending it didn't matter. It mattered, and I should have called it out years ago. I remembered the first time they asked me for money. I was 28, Mia was a baby, and they said they'd fallen behind on some credit cards. I gave them $3,000. Then another 2 a few months later. They promised it was temporary. It wasn't. Over the next 5 years, it became normal. Dad needed help with medical stuff that somehow never showed up in paperwork. Mom hinted about gas bills, car repairs, a little bridge to get through the month. And like an idiot, I kept giving. Until one night, after I'd just written a check for $900, I came home to find my lights shut off because I forgot to pay my own damn power bill. Mia was 7. We played board games by candlelight, and I told her it was an adventure. That was my wake-up call. After that, I started saying no, and the guilt trips came fast. We're your parents. We gave you life. All we ask is a little help, but I stayed firm. I had a kid to raise. I had to stop bleeding money just to keep them from giving me the cold shoulder at Thanksgiving. What I didn't see coming was them skipping over me completely, going straight for Mia. And the worst part? They knew how hard she worked for that money. They knew it wasn't birthday checks or handouts. It was job after job, every weekend, every summer since she was 15. Babysitting, fast food, HVAC apprenticeships. That account was her future, and they took it because she trusted them, because I taught her to respect family, even when they didn't deserve it. I sat back in my chair and rubbed my face hard. The kitchen clock ticked loud enough to make me want to rip it off the wall. How the hell had I missed this coming? I thought they just favored Kayla. I didn't think they'd target Mia. But maybe the favoritism was never harmless. Maybe it was practice. They learned to praise Kayla loud, ignore Mia quiet, and when that didn't get them what they wanted, they lied, manipulated her, used her love against her. And now, my daughter was sitting upstairs thinking she'd failed me. I picked up my pen again and underlined the words on my notepad. They skipped me on purpose. Then I drew a box around it. The second I finished my list, I grabbed my phone and looked up our bank's fraud department. Because whatever family meant to them, it didn't mean I had to keep letting them win. I didn't sleep, just paced the hallway outside Mia's room until the sun came up. Around 7, I grabbed my keys, got in the car, and drove to my parents' place like I was on autopilot. No call. No heads up. I wasn't giving them time to spin anything. The front door opened before I even knocked. Mom stood there in her robe, hair still pinned from the night before, like she'd just made coffee and wasn't expecting a damn thing. "Oh," she said, blinking. "You're up early." I stepped inside without asking. "We need to talk." She shut the door behind me and walked toward the kitchen like we were about to chit-chat over muffins. "Coffee?" she asked. "No." She turned back, her face all calm like she had no clue why I was there. "What's going on?" "You took Mia's money." That made her pause, barely. Then she reached for a mug. She offered it. We didn't take anything. She told me everything. The house story, the emergency, the lies. She thought you were in real trouble. "We were," she said, pouring her coffee. "Not everyone puts their business on blast, Melissa." "You're not in trouble," I snapped. "Your house is paid off. You just wanted money and didn't want to ask me, so you went behind my back and took it from my daughter." She didn't flinch, just stirred her coffee like she was adding cream to a damn miracle. "Mia's an adult. She can make her own choices. She's 19. She trusted you. And you used that to get $60,000 out of her." "It was a gift," she said calmly. "No, it wasn't. You guilted her. You played the we're family card and made her feel like she'd be selfish if she said no." Her eyes narrowed just a little. "You really think we'd manipulate our own granddaughter?" "I don't think." I know she exhaled like I was being unreasonable. "Melissa, you've always been so dramatic." I laughed once, sharp and humorless. "You lied to her face, told her not to tell me. What else would you call that?" She didn't seem upset when she sent the money. She said she was happy to help. "Because you made her think she had to." Mom took a slow sip of coffee, still playing it cool, like I hadn't just laid it all out. "She's not a child. She's not a bank account either." She set her mug down and crossed her arms. "Look, this doesn't have to be a thing. We're family. Things get messy sometimes. That's just how it is." I stared at her. "You don't even feel bad, do you?" She shrugged, like we were talking about a parking ticket. "She'll be fine. She's young. She's got time." "You stole from her," I said, my voice low now. "And you're sitting here acting like you did her a favor." "We didn't steal anything," she said, too calm. "Mia gave us a gift, and now you're blowing it out of proportion." My throat burned, but I held it back. I wouldn't cry here. Not in this house. "You're unbelievable." "Melissa, don't do this. Don't drag the family through the mud over some misunderstanding." I looked around the kitchen. Same wallpaper from my childhood, same fridge covered in Kayla's magazine clippings, her face smiling from every damn surface. Not one photo of Mia. "Yeah," I muttered. "Some misunderstanding." Then I turned and walked to the door. "Tell Mia we love her," Mom said behind me. I didn't answer, just opened the door and stepped into the morning air. The second I got in my car, I gripped the wheel with both hands and sat there shaking. Not from fear, from rage. They weren't going to give the money back. I knew it the second she started pouring that coffee like it was any other day. They thought this would go away. I put the car in drive, backed out slow, and made a silent promise right then. It wasn't going away. I didn't even go home. I pulled into a Walgreens parking lot, turned off the engine, and called Laura. She picked up on the second ring. "Hey, everything okay?" "No," I said flat. "You got a second?" "Sure. Did you know about the money?" A pause. "What money?" "Mia's savings. 60,000. Gave it to Mom and Dad. They told her they were in some emergency, but it was bullshit. You know anything about that?" Laura hesitated. No, not really. I mean, I heard Kayla got some help, but I didn't know the details." I closed my eyes. "So you did know?" "Well, I mean, I assumed it was something between them and Kayla." "Not really my business. It was Mia's business. I snapped. And mine. That money was her future. You didn't think that mattered? Laura sighed. Melissa, Mom and Dad can do what they want with their money. It wasn't their money, I said, louder now. It was Mia's. She worked her ass off for it, and they conned her. Another pause. They probably didn't mean it like that. Oh, come on, I snapped. They lied. They said they were in trouble. They made her promise not to tell me. That's not just a misunderstanding, Laura. That's manipulation. She got defensive. All right, you don't have to yell. I didn't ask them to do anything. I didn't know the whole story. Then let me spell it out for you. Mia's money went into that Escalade Kayla just bought. That's where it went. You really think that's okay? Laura went quiet again. Then, like she was trying to justify it to herself, well, Kayla's starting a business. It's an investment. I actually laughed. Loud. Jesus, are you serious? She's really talented, Melissa. And Mom said, Stop, I cut in. Just stop. You knew. Maybe not the full details, but you knew enough to ask questions, and you didn't. I didn't think it was my place. No, because you're used to watching them favor Kayla while the rest of us get crumbs. And you're okay with it, as long as it's not your kid. That's not fair. Yeah? Neither is watching your daughter lose her shot at a future while the bonus granddaughter gets handed a luxury SUV. Laura let out this annoyed breath, like I was the problem. I don't know what you want from me. I want you to admit what they did was wrong. I'm not getting involved. Too late. I hung up. My hands were shaking again. Not from shock this time, just pure disgust. I sat in the car, staring at the dashboard, trying not to punch the steering wheel. Then my phone buzzed. Mia. Should I text Kayla? Me. Your call. Be direct. Less than a minute later, another buzz. Mia. Just asked if she knew where the money came from. I waited. Another buzz. Mia. She said, Grandma said it was hers. I blinked at the screen. No apology, no confusion, no surprise. Just Grandma said it was hers. They were all in on it. Or at least didn't care enough to question it. That SUV sitting in Kayla's driveway, bought with Mia's sweat and years of skipped coffees and summer jobs, and she was still smiling about it. I started the engine again, pulled out of the lot, and headed home. One thing was clear now. If we wanted this fixed, it wasn't coming from anyone in that family. It was on us. The lawyer's office was tucked between a dry cleaner and a vape shop in some bland little plaza just off Route 23. I remember thinking it didn't look like the kind of place where lives got fixed, but we went in anyway. The waiting room smelled like lemon cleaner and old carpet. Mia sat stiff beside me, her hands balled into fists in her lap. The door opened, and a woman in her early 40s stepped out, dark suit, hair pulled back, clipboard in hand. She had this kind of steady energy that made me feel like we were in the right place. Melissa and Mia? We followed her in. The office was plain. Just a desk, a computer, a few chairs, no diplomas or bookshelves meant to impress. She sat down and folded her hands neatly. I'm Rachel. Walk me through what happened. Mia glanced at me. I gave her a nod, and she took a deep breath. She explained everything. The fake emergency, the promise not to tell me, the 60 grand wired out of her account. She showed the texts, the bank transfer, the memo line that said, family help. Rachel didn't interrupt. She just listened, calm as hell, and took notes. When Mia finished, Rachel looked at her and said, this qualifies as fraud. Mia blinked. Even though I technically gave it to them? You were misled. You were pressured, and they used false pretenses. That's fraud, legally and ethically. The text trail strengthens the case, especially the one telling you not to inform your mom. I exhaled. Mia stared at the table. Rachel turned to me. The good news is, this is extremely clear-cut. If we file, we have a strong chance of full recovery, Mia spoke up. Quiet. Would they go to jail? Rachel shook her head. Highly unlikely. At this amount and with family involved, it would be civil, not criminal. Most likely, a judgment for repayment plus legal fees. Mia nodded, still staring down. Then she said, Can I try something first? Rachel looked over at her. What do you mean? I want to talk to them. Just me, one time. Ask them to make it right. I opened my mouth to argue but stopped when I saw her face. She wasn't being soft. She was being steady. I want them to look me in the eye, Mia said. If they still won't admit it, then we go forward. Rachel nodded. That's your call. I looked at Mia. Are you sure? She nodded slowly. If they're gonna lie to my face again, I want to see it happen. I didn't like it, but I respected it. She needed that closure, that final proof. I got it. Okay, I said, but you're not going alone without backup nearby. I won't, she said. I'll go to their house. I'll keep my phone on me. Rachel started printing out the paperwork we'd need if things went south. I'll be here when you're ready to move forward. Mia stood up first. Thank you. We walked out together. Sunlight hit hard as we stepped back into the parking lot. You really want to do this? I asked her again. I have to, she said. I need to see if there's anything left worth saving. Then she got in her car and drove off toward their house, alone. Mia got back around 6. I was already on the couch, pretending to scroll through emails, waiting for the sound of the front door. She walked in, set her keys down slow, and stood there for a second like she wasn't sure what to say. I looked up. Well? She let out a long breath. It was worse than I thought. I stood. What'd they say? They said I was overreacting, that I'd changed, that you'd turn me against them. I clenched my jaw. Of course they did. They called it a gift, said I should be proud of helping family. Then Grandma started crying and asked if I was really going to sue your own grandparents. And did you tell them yes? I said if they didn't make it right, I would. I stepped closer. And they said I was being dramatic, said I'd been poisoned by internet culture and selfish modern thinking. Grandpa actually used those words. I stared at her. Jesus. I asked them to just admit it. Just admit they lied, that they made up the whole emergency. And they looked me dead in the face and said I must have misunderstood. I could see her hands trembling, her face trying to stay steady. No apology? None, she said. They said it's my fault for not asking more questions. I pulled her into a hug. She held on longer than usual. Then I stepped back and said, all right, that's it. Let's file. She nodded. Let's do it. We sat down that night at the dining table and filled out every line of the paperwork Rachel had given us, scanned the bank transfers, printed the text threads. I watched Mia's expression go from hurt to focused. She clicked through each form like she was closing a door behind her. 3 days later, Rachel submitted everything. A week after that, my phone buzzed at 9:13 a.m. Rachel. They've been served. I stared at those 3 words for a long second. They've been served, I repeated out loud, like I had to hear it to believe it. By noon, the retaliation started. First, it was a vague Facebook post from my mom. Some people will throw away blood for a payday. Shameful. Then Laura texted me, did you really need to go this far? Then came the cousin brigade. Screenshots. DMS snide comments. Heard Mia's trying to sue for beer money? Wow, guess entitled teens are the new normal. Can't believe you're letting this ruin the family? I didn't answer a single one, but I screenshotted every damn message. And when Mia walked in from class and saw me at the kitchen table again, phone in hand, she didn't even ask. They're turning people against us already, I said. She shrugged. Then they were never on our side. She was right. The same people who'd ignored Mia her whole life were suddenly experts on family loyalty. The same people who clapped when Kayla got her Escalade were now preaching about forgiveness and not dragging private matters public. Funny how none of them cared when it was Mia getting drained dry. I made one post, just one. There's a legal process underway. The facts will come out. Until then, please don't message us unless you have something useful to say. That shut most of it down. But not all of it. Kayla posted a cryptic TikTok about jealous energy and building in silence. Laura commented a fire emoji. Mia saw it, didn't flinch. We good? I asked her that night. She nodded. We're good. And for the first time in weeks, I believed it. The courtroom was colder than I expected. Pale gray walls, no windows, just a clock ticking way too loud behind the judge's bench. Mia sat beside me in her nicest blazer, borrowed from a friend, shoulders back, face unreadable. I kept glancing at her hands. No tremble, no nerves showing. She looked older than 19. My parents were already seated on the other side, looking like they were attending a church function. Mom had pearls on. Dad wore a jacket I hadn't seen since Uncle Steve's funeral. Their lawyer, a slick guy named Devin something, stood behind them, adjusting his tie like this was just another Tuesday. When the judge walked in, everyone stood. I didn't breathe until we sat down again. Devin kicked things off, talking about the unfortunate breakdown of communication in this tight-knit family, like we were all just confused instead of conned. He smiled too much, called my parents loving grandparents, and Mia, a generous but misguided young woman who misunderstood the nature of her own actions. I felt Mia stiffen beside me, but she didn't look away from the judge once. Then it was my mom's turn to speak. She took the stand, voice soft, eyes glassy. Mia came to us, Your Honor. She said she wanted to help. We told her we didn't expect anything, but she insisted. We thought it was a gesture of love. I wanted to stand up and yell, but I didn't. I let the silence sit while the judge scribbled something down. Dad nodded from his seat, solemn as hell. No emotion, just polite agreement. Then Mia stood and walked up to the stand like she'd done it 100 times. No shake in her voice, no hesitation. She told the truth, start to finish, about the emergency, the secrecy, the promise not to tell me, about how they said they were behind on bills and needed the money fast. Rachel handed the judge the evidence, printed texts, the wire transfer, the memo line, family emergency. Mia said clear as day, I gave it because they told me they were in serious trouble. I never would have sent it otherwise. Then she sat back down, still calm, still strong. Devin stood up, tried to wave it all off again. Even if there was confusion, he said, there's no malicious intent here. My clients are deeply hurt by how this has escalated. All they've ever wanted is what's best for their granddaughter. The judge didn't nod, didn't smile, just flipped through the papers slowly. Then he looked up and asked my mom, what was the emergency you referred to in these texts? My mom blinked. We were struggling financially. The judge tilted his head. Can you clarify? What specific bills or debts were urgent? She shifted in her seat. It was more general strain, rising costs, gas, groceries, insurance. So, nothing urgent, he said, voice sharp now. No foreclosure, no eviction, no legal notices. She paused too long. No, but we were under pressure. Were you aware your granddaughter had earmarked this money for trade school? She mentioned it, yes. And you still accepted the full $60,000? My mom looked down. We thought she wanted to help. The judge turned to my dad. Mr. Peterson, what was the money used for? Dad cleared his throat. House repairs, mostly. Upgrades. The judge raised an eyebrow. And the Cadillac Escalade registered under Kayla Thomas? My parents froze. We loaned her part of it, my mom said quickly. She's starting a business. So, the judge said, flipping through more pages, you took your granddaughter's tuition money, gave it to someone who is not related to you by blood, and told your granddaughter not to inform her mother. Is that accurate? No answer. Answer the question, my dad muttered. Yes, that was it. That's when the whole room shifted. The judge looked straight at Mia. I believe you. He banged the gavel once. Judgment in favor of the plaintiff. Full repayment of $60,000, plus legal fees. Terms will be finalized in the next hearing. I heard Mom let out a soft gasp behind me, like she was the victim. Mia sat still, didn't smile, didn't cry, just nodded once. As we packed up, I caught it, out of the corner of my eye, Mom whispering something to Kayla in the gallery. Kayla pulled her purse up and walked off without saying a word to either of them. We walked out of that courthouse without looking back, one clean step at a time. 2 days after the ruling, I texted Laura. I kept it simple. If you care at all about what happens next, now's the time to step up. She replied an hour later, I'm not getting involved. This whole thing is sad. I just want peace. That was her answer. Not sorry, not shocked. Just peace, as if we were the problem for disturbing it. A few days after that, I got a message from Kayla. It wasn't long. I didn't know the money was from Mia. Grandma told me it was theirs. I didn't respond. Neither did Mia. Whether Kayla believed that or not didn't matter anymore. She drove off in the car. She stayed quiet when it counted. That told us everything. Then, a week later, I saw the listing go live. 3-bedroom ranch, corner lot, motivated sellers. Their house was officially on the market. I didn't feel good about it, but I didn't feel bad either. We'd filed the claim. They didn't even try to settle. They thought they'd win. Turns out, even longtime manipulators can run out of rope. Some of the family went silent after that. No calls, no comments, just distance. Others messaged quietly in whispers. A cousin I hadn't talked to in years said, "I always noticed how they treated Mia." An aunt sent a one-line email. "You were right to protect her." But none of them showed up when it mattered. Just like always, that was fine. We weren't looking for backup anymore. Mia and I cut ties. Clean, final. No holiday check-ins. No Facebook comments. No "let's be civil" texts. We were done. And something strange happened after that. We got better. The house felt quieter, but not empty. We started cooking dinner together more, talking about actual stuff. I saw her laugh again, not the polite kind she gave people at family gatherings, but real stupid loud belly laughs that made me tear up for no damn reason. We went to estate sales on Saturdays, picked out furniture for her future apartment. She signed up for a welding certification class, started talking about maybe opening her own shop one day. She got more confident, sharper, less afraid to ask questions or say no. And me? I stopped apologizing for protecting her. I used to think silence meant failure. Distance meant you'd given up. But the quiet that followed cutting them off, that was peace. No fake phone calls, no passive-aggressive guilt trips, no pretending to laugh at things that weren't funny. Just space to breathe. Sometimes we sat on the porch with iced tea, both of us staring out at nothing, and I'd think, this is it. This is what they tried to take. I don't know if they ever felt regret. We'll probably never find out. They never reached out. No apology, no repayment plan beyond the court order. They went quiet too, but for once, their silence didn't have power. Ours did. Mia turned 20 this summer. She's in her second year of HVAC certification and already has a waiting list of small jobs people keep throwing her way. She's booked solid, but she still comes home for dinner twice a week, and every time she walks through the door, I see the same thing. Stronger shoulders, clearer eyes, a backbone they couldn't touch. She's different now. Not hard, just sharper. She asks more questions, reads every line before she signs anything. She still gives people the benefit of the doubt, but only once. That's what they taught her, in the end. As for me, I don't think about my parents much anymore, not because I don't care, but because I've stopped waiting for anything from them. No apology, no explanation, no fake reconciliation wrapped in a holiday card. We haven't spoken to them since the hearing. Not one word. Laura never followed up. Kayla disappeared into whatever business she said she was starting. And you know what? Life got quieter. A different kind of quiet. Not the tense silence that comes before a fight. Real quiet. Calm. Peaceful. We grocery shop without wondering who we'll run into. We don't sit through dinners pretending we don't notice the favoritism or the digs. There's no more guilt-tripping voicemails, no obligation wrapped in fake family values. It's just us. And in a way, that betrayal marked the beginning of something I didn't even know I needed. A reset. Not just for Mia, but for me too. All my life, I tried to play nice. Be the reasonable one. Keep the peace even when it felt like swallowing glass. But this, drawing the line, filing the paperwork, shutting the door for good, it was the first time I truly protected us. The first time I said, no more. Sometimes I wonder if we went too far. If taking it to court made us the villains in someone else's story. If the silence that followed is permanent now. But then I see Mia in her work boots, laughing while she rewires someone's busted AC unit. And I think, maybe we didn't go far enough. So let me ask you, what would you have done? Drop your answer in the comments. I'm ready to hear it. And hit like and subscribe if this story hit home for you.